Good evening, everybody. This is Ron Turner, and I'd like to begin tonight's podcast. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. What is FrontRunner 2020? Well, briefly, it's something that we've started to create a community for candidates and the people who support them before they're running for office, as well as during campaigns and after their victories. It looks at developing a personal brand and making sure people are prepared before they make the decision to file for office. And it looks at someone's personal journey. And like I said, we hope to make this a community. We're starting with this weekly programming. I understand the necessity of having close advisors who know the mechanics of campaigning. Definitely working on it, considered but little action taken, not sure, haven't even thought about it. I understand the necessity of having close advisors who know the mechanics of campaigning. Definitely working on it, considered but little action taken, not sure, haven't even thought about it.
Very good. If you're coming to these seminars, you understand that you have to know the mechanics of campaigning. But I'm going to tell you the secret about the mechanics of campaigning. If you're going to work with an advisor, you need to find someone who helps you understand what you don't know, and then find someone who can fill in those skills and knowledge to bring your campaign up to winning standards. And then the second part of this screen is, can I trust a consultant to help me evaluate the areas of my campaign that need work? There's a word that we haven't mentioned yet. It's called a deliverable. If you're working with a consultant and they have all these wonderful ideas of what they're going to do for you, but they can't give you a pathway that shows you how they can deliver that result, run for the door and take a checkbook with you. There are a lot of people, especially in websites, especially in graphic design. You're going to find a lot of people that want to be out there with you at the beginning. Those are both very important things to have so you look like a professional campaign, but you need to make sure they can actually create the deliverable. In a person who does what I do, when I get beyond this point with a candidate, I work with them on field presentation, evaluation, and total strategy. And they should be able to come up with a win number. They should be able to give you a path of what's happened before now in the race you want to run. They should be able to help you evaluate all those things, and they should be able to hand it to you in on a piece of paper that you can read and understand that they know the area. That includes looking at everything precinct by precinct and down to the smallest little nub, whether you have wards or precincts or whatever. That consultant needs to be able to tell you they understand the mechanics that run those areas, and that they can tell you how they're going to help you reach that goal with something you can hold in your hand. Don't just take their words. If they say they're going to have a database, and even though if you don't know jack about databases, sit down and say, show me a database you're working with. And if you make sense at all, you'll be able to see pretty quickly whether they really have a database or whether they're just taking a raw voter file and handing it to you and not being able to help you evaluate it at all. I cannot tell you how many candidates have called me in after they've spent $10,000 on people who seemed like nice people. Nice has nothing to do with it. Do they know how to show it to you so it makes sense to you? That's my closing statement on that.
Okay. Well, let's go to the last question now. I'm aware of the changes social media has brought to the political arena. Definitely working on it, considered but little action taken, not sure, haven't even thought about it. I'm aware of the changes social media has brought to the political arena. Definitely working on it, considered but little action taken, not sure, haven't even thought about it.
All right. I'll tell you why I put this question in, and this is rather a recent arrival in my lexicon of things I think about. I ran Obama Steel Perm in Dallas, Texas, in Dallas County. We had the paperwork hit 350,000 doors. We can prove we hit 250,000. We can prove on one Saturday we hit 36,000 doors. I can go out in the field and count pieces of paper that come back and say they've been hit. The social media and the concept of social media is what Obama's campaign provided to us here working, and we were not paid by them, by the way. We did this out of love and concern. But they provided us a social networking frame so that we could get the volunteers to do that kind of work. I have rarely had to train 3,000 volunteers in a 2-month period, but I had the luxury of doing that. So social media has made an enormous difference in how we communicate with each other. So that's what I want to do. But my thing about this is, see episode 1 of Front Runner 2020. Ron was already ahead of me on this one, and that's what his first episode was about. And that's all I have to say.
Well, thanks, Nancy. That was really awesome. This is really important, and we have a more detailed checklist of 15 questions that we'll be sending as a follow-up to you as a worksheet that you can complete and mark action items with this advice. That'll be sent out next week. Last week we did have Josh Berthume of Eagle and Wheeler talk about social media, and we included an interview with Dave Bonham, Deputy Campaign Manager for Ellen Cohen, running for Houston City Council, and covered a lot of aspects of social media and how it interacts with the field program. Nancy, I know you did tell me you would welcome any sort of contact from people, so there it is.
Yes.
The email and phone number, right?
Yes, that's true.
So, Ruddle Consulting, Nancy Lloyd, and it's ruddle.lloyd@yahoo.com, RUTTLE.LLOYD@yahoo.com. The phone number is 214-212-2117. Now, the first question comes from Johnny.
Nancy, what I was questioning Ron about is I ran for city council in Irving in 1982. Now, what I did was mostly spur of the moment, because I was very upset that they were going to allot the cable commission to someone who did not deserve it. So I got really upset, and I jumped in at the last minute. Now, after I lost, but only by a few votes because I did some door-to-door stuff, after I lost, several groups came to me and said, if you should have told us that you wanted to run, because we would have backed you. These are people that I have known for most of my life. And I said, well, you know, I didn't know how to do that. I just, on the spur of the moment, spent my own money, went out, did it door-to-door, did everything that you're supposed to do, except too late in the game. So when I did that, it got me thinking a lot. And this particular seminar has caused me to think more about running again. And I was very involved in Loretta Honomang's campaign last year. And by the way, she won my precinct by 7 votes. We did a good job for Loretta. But that girl worked for a solid year, and I watched her work. Now, I beg your pardon?
I can comment on 2 things in Irving right now, and I'll tell you what. Right now, Irving now has gone to single-member districts, which would make running much easier. Secondly, in the case of Loretta, yes, she was there and she worked very hard. She had a lot of money. She had a lot of money behind her, but she was really new to the area, and she stepped on the toes of someone who'd been there for a long time.
That's right. But we won our precinct.
I know, and but that's the problem. And then you had Republicans pouring money in there because the Republicans knew the game in 2010. And if you're a Republican out there listening, I work with them in nonpartisan races. I don't work with Republicans in partisan races. The Republicans knew that the name of the game was winning the House so that they could run amok over us with redistricting.
Amen.
And so, yes, if you're interested, I'm in your area. Irving's really easy for me to help you evaluate. But the very first thing I have most of my candidates do after they go through this assessment, and this is the further action points, is go to your friends and family, write out to all your Christmas list, write out to everyone you've kept touch with over the years, and tell them what you're up to, because they will show up and want to help you. If they, if they're really your friends. And if they're not, then you didn't lose anything, or they're just not politically involved. But that's the second movement. And actually, in Dallas City, in the city of Dallas, to run for a city council race, the races that win start in June before the election the year before.
See, I had no clue. I just knew that they were wrong and I was right.
And you've got great associations. You've got great firemen association, police associations. You've got a lot of groups like that. But you have to get to them early. And that's when I talk about, are you reaching out? Are you doing all that stuff? Do you reach out in your community? Do you get in touch with business people, HOAs? I mean, right now I'm working with someone who is going to be running in 2012, and today we wrote up a list of about 45 neighborhood associations that we have to get into. So that's what you need to do, and that's the difference. She was looking at me and she said, all those people? And I said, yeah, because they're all over the areas you need to be able to penetrate. And those neighborhoods, if you get one person fired up in that group, it's like a match, and then you've got your little campfire going.